Hello everybody, another freestyle amulet talk. This one from my own point of view. I was just posting on Facebook a beer gare from Luang Pu Perm of Wat Klang Ban Keo, which is a temple that those who know beer gare, cowrie shell, in case you don't know what a beer gare is, a cowrie shell amulet, will know that the temple of Wat Klang Ban Keo is very famous for the Wicha beer gare, for the ancient master Luang Pu Bun of Wat Klang Ban Keo, whose beer gare are all of his amulets are extremely expensive and on the same level as the kind of masters when we speak of Luang Pongan or this kind of amulet, Luang Pu Tuat and Luang Pongan, and very expensive, very hard to find. You need to be very expert to recognize them and know if they're real or not, because they have been subjected to so much forgery, all masters up to the present age of this temple. So you really need to know your stuff. And I thought one of my friends on Facebook, who happens to be a bhikkhu, he's a monk, posted a photo of a chia card ale waistcoat with two of these same beer gare, which I shared a picture of, from Luang Pu Perm, also authentic. And they commented, yeah, it's authentic. And it just occurred to me to say to him that, and to everybody who reads the post, that if you ever see one like this, of this kind of aged lacquer, the same age and the same look and feel and magic to it, but it looks kind of different, not as symmetrical and not as tightly spiral woven cords like you would see from the Luang Pu Perm beer gare we were looking at. If it's rounder, less egg-shaped, but just as old, but has a less neat and tidy cord wrapping, then that will be from Ajarn Bai, who was a monk also at Wat Klang Ban Keo at the same time as Luang Pu Perm. Wat Klang Ban Keo is a temple which began its fame for beer gare with Luang Pu Bun, who passed it on to the next abbot and his apprentice in magic, Luang Pu Perm. And Luang Pu Perm became equally famous. All masters of the temple have become equally famous for the beer gare, and his beer gare became legendary. But at the same time, Luang Pu Perm became the next abbot, and so very famous. But at the same time, there was another monk and close friend and apprentice to Luang Pu Perm and Luang Pu Bun in the temple, who was not the abbot. He was a Lukwat. He was a monk of the temple and also a sorcerer monk practicing magic, Buddha magic. And he also made beer gare, picking it up from Luang Pu Perm and from what he had managed to get from Luang Pu Bun, which was less than Luang Pu Perm, because Luang Pu Perm was direct Luxit. But Luang Pu Perm shared what Ajarn Bai didn't get from Luang Pu Bun, he got from Luang Pu Perm. So he inherited the Wicha both directly and indirectly. But his method was not as neat and tidy. And so at the same time as Luang Pu Perm, you had another beer gare coming from another monk at the same temple, which is just as revered by his cult collectors of Ajarn Bai, and almost as expensive as those of Luang Pu Perm. But he's less heard of because he wasn't the abbot. But actually, although I talk of the 4 generations of masters of Wat Klang Ban Keo, which began with Luang Pu Bun, followed by the next abbot, Luang Pu Perm, followed by the next abbot, Luang Pu Jia, Beer Silo, also famous for beer gare, and then followed for the Wicha by Luang Pu Kong Sanya, who is presently still alive, but not the abbot apparently. The abbot is somebody else. But so the current Wicha holder and famous person for the Wicha beer gare in the present time, living master, is not the abbot. It is Ajarn Kong Sanya. Just like Ajarn Bai in the time of Luang Pu Perm was not the abbot. He was a Lukwat, and Ajarn Kong is a Lukwat, but he's the famous guy for the amulets at Wat Klang Ban Keo, even though he was not the abbot. So, this amulet talk, the point, I'm finally coming to my point of why I started this amulet talk, was not to talk about Wat Klang Ban Keo in particular, which I'll just finish by saying here we have 5 masters in 4 generations, and it's a fantastic, if you're a collector as well as a devotee and don't just seek wearing powerful magic, but you also love the academics and the collection of it and the appreciation and the preservation. Most of the antiquities of the world, if we look at ancient Egyptian antiquities or any antiquities, be they old books or art, if it weren't for people like the Rothschilds and just personal museum collectors who collect things, the Rothschilds, they collect the finest art. But stuff like this, we have millions of collectors over the world who collect their personal museums, and this is what we call anurak. You're not wearing it and using the magic all the time. You are studying and documenting and getting to know them and preserving the knowledge and preserving their existence in your collection cases, like I do, because I have well over 15,000 amulets in my house. I'm not going to wear them all. And so there's nothing wrong with collection. Some people just seek the magic, which is of course why amulets existed in the first place. And that's my highest respect to those who seek an amulet for power and to wear it and to use it. But I also have the highest respect for curators or collectors. For me, a collector is a curator, is a museum owner of a personal museum or a public museum. Yeah, and so the point of this podcast is to tell you what drives me to choose which kind of masters and amulets I'm going to present to you in my store, in my websites, and write about for you, and in my ebooks, is that I'm tending to lean towards wanting to introduce you and teach you or lead you to the appreciation of not just a particular master, but to respect and follow the lineages of some temples have more than one master who was famous, and to not forget temples that had a famous master, and then just because that master died, any following masters of the temple, you're not interested in their amulets anymore. That's ridiculous. Yeah, because usually when that happens, it should happen because the master did not pass the Wicha down to the next abbot or the next monk of the temple. But otherwise, you should look at examples like Wat Sapan Sung, Wat Klang Ban Keo. Yeah, for example, you can see Wat Klang Ban Keo had Luang Pu Bun. Luang Pu Bun died. In those days, they didn't follow those kind of fashions. Oh, Luang Pu Bun's gone. The next master can never be so good. Junior Marley will never be as good as Damian Marley will never be as good as Bob Marley. Nobody will ever replace Elvis. Well, yeah, nobody will replace Luang Pu Bun because he's Luang Pu Bun, but nobody will replace Luang Pu Perm either. And the people followed Luang Pu Perm as having inherited the Wicha and the wisdom and accepted the new, embraced the new as they learned to let go of the old. Yeah, and as Luang Pu Perm passed away, this got passed on to Luang Pu Jia, who became just as beloved and just as powerful and just as respected. And so, why a temple like Wat Pak Klong Makam Tao, that is so famous for Luang Pu Suk, one of the most famous monks of all history, Luang Pu Suk, people don't want amulets from Wat Pak Klong Makam Tao, and they don't know the name of the abbot. But actually, the abbot of Wat Pak Klong Makam Tao is a highly attained master, and he didn't inherit the temple from just anybody, yeah, and he didn't inherit his Wicha from just anybody. But just because nobody has created a legend around him, and modern times have changed the way we look at things, people are forgetting that just looking at Luang Pu Suk, if it's from Wat Pak Klong Makam Tao, has to be from Luang Pu Suk. If it's from any of the later masters, we don't want it. That's absolutely silly. That way you'll only ever know the old famous masters, and you'll never make any new famous masters. And the old amulets, once they were new, and new amulets, one day they will be old. And so I am trying to bring to you now, I'm currently working on a page of the amulets and the masters of Wat Sapan Sung, which, like Wat Klang Ban Keo, has various generations of masters. It has Luang Pu Iem, which is almost 150, 200 years ago. I have to check up, can't remember exactly. Then Luang Pu Glin, and then Luang Po Tong Suk after that, and now Luang Pu Wat. That's 4 generations, all famous for the Pitta amulet, yeah, and for the Krut and Mak Tui and other stuff, yeah. And it's what you call a sure winner, because it doesn't matter which generation you get them from. You're getting the same Wicha, you're getting the invocation of all the lineage masters, and depending to your budget, if you're just looking for a powerful amulet of Wat Sapan Sung or Wat Klang Ban Keo, yeah, or Wat Soton, Luang Po Soton, you don't have a master. Nobody knows what masters bless the Luang Po Soton amulets, or the Chinarat, Wat Chinarat, Wat Praputa Chinarat, Pitsanulog. They know it's from the temple of Praputa Chinarat and blessed by hundreds of monks, but it's not made by a certain master. That's okay, yeah. So what are you thinking, you know? Are you thinking about the power of the amulet? Which master? Do you have to know which master made it? One category in my shop you won't see is Mai Sap Tea. Mai Sap Tea means don't know where it came from. In amulet auctions and high-end auction rooms in Thailand and magazines, you will sometimes see amulets going for hundreds and thousands of dollars, where it says very old takrut, Mai Sap Tea, or Mai Sap Geji. I don't know which place it came from, or I don't know who made it, but it's still really expensive because it's obviously so old that it comes from a time where people didn't actually focus on who made it. A 700-year-old amulet, nobody knows who made it. But an amulet, if you're buying an amulet made in the last 50 years, most people, well, who made it? Do you really need to know who made it? This because some people will busha the amulet itself, and they don't have to know who made it. And some people will busha the amulet because of the respect they have for the Luang Po, for the monk who made it, or the master who made it. So you have to look at your reasons for that as well. What are you looking for? Are you looking for amulet from a particular master, or a particular temple, a particular Wicha, or what, you know? And all of those are okay. You just decide your criteria. But one thing I like to use Wat Klang Ban Keo and Wat Sapan Sung and a few other temples to demonstrate that you don't have to attach yourself to a particular master, and that you can start to look at the lineages of the temples and the transmission of the Wicha through from one master to the next, and to gain an appreciation for this. And actually, you know, if I was just a simple amulet collector and not a trader who has to cater to the likes of so many people, I must have 300 different monks and masters and 15,000 different amulets of maybe from a few hundred different temples. But otherwise, as a simple collector and devotee, I would probably say, okay, I like these 2 or 3 temples and masters, and I'm going to focus on learning those and collecting those and busha to those. So for me, I would say maybe, okay, Sai Luang Po Kuai, the lineage of Luang Po Kuai. So if I was a collector of Luang Po Kuai amulets, and I collected all the ones he made at his temple, I could then spread out and do ones which he blessed at other temples, or which he made for other temples, or which others had him bless, with other temples made and had him bless, and for his lineage family, such as Luang Pu Mun and Ajarn Tua. Ajarn Tua, who was the first Luksit of Lumpokwe and makes Lumpokwe amulets, and also made amulets with Lumpumun of Lumpokwe and of Lumpomun, or Lumpomun as some of you say in Southeast Asia, from Wat Panjan. So I could spread out and say also, well, I collect from Lumpokwe. I would also collect the Wat Ratchanada 2512 edition. Some people say 2515. That's because Lumpokwe made it in 2512 and gave it to the abbot of Wat Ratchanada in Bangkok. It's amulets filled with gemstone fragments. And in 2515 they were released, but they were made in 2512, and that's why the argument. And so I would collect those, and I would collect ones which he blessed at Wat Sutad, and I would collect the amulets of Lumpumun and of Ajarn Tua. Or if I collected Lumpongan amulets Wat Bangklan, then I would collect Lumpongan from Wat Thai Nam and from other related temples, and from every abbot and every master that has ever made Lumpongan amulets, and keep collecting. Or if I was with Wat Klang Pan Keo, so I would try to have a biagare of Lumpu Pun, Lumpu Perm, Ajarn Bai, Lumpodjia, and of Ajarn Kong Sanya. Would be nice to have one from every single generation. Yeah, or to collect the full pantheon of amulets of each master of each generation of that temple. And so these are the kind of things I am currently documenting and trying to expand upon on the websites, and try to get you to focus on the lineages and the temples and the transmission from one master to the next, and to not get fixed on one master and think just because that master was great and famous that any of the succeeding masters who follow them cannot be as interesting. That is a fallacy. And so that's what I wanted to make this amulet talk about. Once more, all over the place, but interesting points. And I hope this helps you to see the amulet world in a different light, or in a brighter light, and see how many angles you can look at things from. And I hope I have inspired you to try to look at deciding which temple lineages you want to look at and follow and collect, because that's a fascinating hobby in itself. And apart from the magic and the religious part. So that's Amulet Talk for today. Ajarn Spencer for Amulets TV and the Buddha Magic Project, and all of you, signing off.